there, ref. That's he got the ball. Good evening, fans. Another day and another failed transfer pursuit at Tottenham Hotspur. And this one comes in the form of Eberechi Eze. We tried for Morgan Gibbs-White earlier on in the window. Didn't get that done for one reason or another. And now Eberechi Eze's deal has been hijacked by Arsenal. It's absolutely sensational news coming out today. Breaking story that Arsenal have made a late move for Eberechi Eze, a player that Tottenham had lined up and were in talks with Crystal Palace about earlier today. Reports now say Eze prefers Arsenal. So we're going to break it all down here today, get the fans' reaction and ask, did Spurs bottle the transfer? Is Daniel Levy to blame? And what next if we miss out on Eze? We have a lot to get into. But just quickly, I mean, I am absolutely furious. I'm fuming. Look, fair play. We tried the Morgan Gibbs-White. That one, for whatever reason, didn't get over the line. But this one, I mean, just moments before Ornstein put out his tweet, you know, Sky Sports were on their show saying that Tottenham were trying to include Richarlison, but Richarlison doesn't want to leave so that we could free up space for Visa. And when you protract negotiations like this and you piss about and you can't get your fee agreed, which we should have done straight off the bat, what do you want for Eze? Going to be a marquee signing? Boom, there you go. We'll have him, please. But when you protract negotiations the way we do, it opens it up for these deals to be hijacked. And what makes it worse is that it's Arsenal hijacking the deal. Nowhere near good enough from the club. And this is why I'm always moaning about how long it takes us to get deals over the line for exact situations like this. I mean, I spent about 2 to 3 hours today preparing a welcome to Tottenham Eze video where I was talking about, you know, how he's going to fit into Frank's system, what happens when Maddison and Kulusevski comes back, how fun Tottenham are going to be to watch again with Eze and Kudos, you know, the new Bale and Lennon, Keane, Berbatov, Kane's son. But all that has gone out the window now, and I'm absolutely furious. And it just seems like it's only Tottenham Hotspur that really get embarrassed in a transfer window like this. A marquee signing, we should never have been pissing about with negotiations. We should have got that done, dusted, especially with the need for marquee signings in our forward line. You know, I was sitting there in the video today praising Tottenham, you know, for showing some ambition, finally realizing that you can't just sign potential to replace Harry Kane and Son. You actually need to go and sign potency, players that actually have production, you know, numbers behind them. And here we are today, sitting here now talking about a failed transfer pursuit of Eberechi Eze. I'm absolutely furious. Just another day at Tottenham Hotspur, and especially since, you know, Tottenham, we knew we needed to try and sign him before Palace's Europa Conference League sort of playoff game. You know, you didn't want to run the risk of him playing any more games for Palace and picking up an injury. But also, we knew we needed to try and get the deal done to get him in, integrated, get some training sessions with Man City on the weekend. But no, we're always looking to try and save a buck here, there, and everywhere. And this is the sort of deals that come back to bite you. But look, we've got plenty of fans in the background that want to have their say. So we're just going to bring them all on together, throw a few questions out there, and let them have their say. You guys out there, if you do want to come on and have your say and you are a fan show member, the link is up in the community section in the channel or the post section of the channel. Just go there, click on the link. It'll bring you straight in to have your say. If you have any questions you feel like you want answered or you want answers to, put them in and I'll put them to the panel, or we'll try and answer them as best as we can. We'll get into it, and I'll start taking some comments. We've got Daniel Larson this evening. We've got Ellie. We have Rain, and we have Eugene in the house. I mean, look, we'll kick it off with you, Eugene. Let's get straight into it. Arsenal are now favourites to sign Eze, a player Spurs had lined up. How are you feeling right now? I mean, look, you're on here defending the protest last week for this exact reason, this exact shit. People were sitting there telling you to be patient, you know, you shouldn't protest till after the window's closed and stuff like that. I mean, how are you feeling right now?
And I've only been a fan of this club for about 15 years, and there's been some bad days, bad transfer windows, but I don't think I've ever been as angry as I am right now. I'm fuming. And you know what's going to happen on the last day of the transfer window? We're going to get a report from Alistair Gold saying Alcanus was Frank's #1 target this whole time.
Yeah.
This is who he wanted. Like, that's what we're going to get from the club, as we always do. Like, not only losing Eze, but losing him to Arsenal. And after losing Gibbs-White, not only is it just embarrassing, but banter is banter. But, I mean, Eze, he's been there for 2 years. like, I will not listen to people saying, "Well, he always wanted Arsenal." If we would put the money down and put, extra couple of million down and say we want him now, not even, last season or the year before, he was available. It's just unbelievable. I'm fuming. I'm not gonna lie. This is no Gibbs White, no Eze. Again, we're gonna get somebody from Uzbeki league, some 19-year-old with potential, and we're gonna go again. I'm just speechless. I'm like, I can't even put my emotions into words.
I'm just surprised, we don't go after the transfer with a lot more vigor and a lot more urgency to try and get it done, considering it's a player that I don't think anyone in the fan base would complain about if we sign him. It doesn't cause any division. He had 25 goals and assists last year, output that we needed after letting Son go as well. It's just a huge concern that we piss about with the transfer deal. But I mean, Rain, we'll go to you as well, because you were another one that was sitting there, defending the protest last week. And Futures Bright, Futures Lily White here says, to everyone slagging off change for Tottenham at the weekend, reap what you sow. It's who we are, mate. Weak, small mentality club, and that won't change until Levy F's off. He said, instead of being a total loser who doesn't give a F about you, get behind change for Tottenham. I mean, Rain, what's your thoughts on the protest? Because, again, last week, when we were having discussions, and in general, discussion around the Tottenham fan base was that, there shouldn't have been the protest organised. It was disgraceful that was organised for first game of the season. You got to give the chance a club to conduct their business. It looks like Eze is going to be, getting over the line. And I do believe that stopped a lot of boots maybe getting down for the protest at the weekend. I mean, how are you feeling, Rain, about the whole saga? And in general, do you think this will get more people down to the next protest?
I mean, it's same old, isn't it? This is
so
obviously last week there was a bit of a Barney, because I was like, you just don't get it. You don't get. You're repeating the party line. You're repeating what everybody else is saying, but you're not actually trying to understand things. I went to the protest, me and about 15 other people. And what was I protesting against? This. I was protesting against this. I was protesting at the way that Tottenham do transfers, and it's not. I will not protest about something that has happened, because that's not protesting. That's complaining, right? That's having a moan. You can't change anything. You can't change anything if it's already happened. It's irrelevant. What I was protesting about was the fact that we messed up Morgan Gibbs White, because we went in, we then let it drag on for 3 weeks, and then Marinakis did what he did. Again, we've gone in, we've let it drag on for a couple of weeks. Everybody's, it'll have. No, that's not the way that life works. It isn't. We've let it drag on again, and somebody's come in and gazumped us. That's what happens. When you're doing a deal, you get it done. We should have got the Morgan Gibbs White deal done, and if it wasn't done, we should have moved on. We should have moved on straight away to Eze there and then. Yeah. We should have moved straight away to Eze, and we should have gone, you've got 3 days to do this deal. My ideal would be, rather than this dragged out process, which, let's face it, it's consistent behavior, right? It's consistent behavior. There's a thing in management called consistent behavior. Yeah, when somebody does the same thing over and over again, so you can actually predict how they're going to behave. This is what Spurs do, because it's consistent behavior. So all those people were going, oh, it'll get done. I don't know where they've been for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I don't know where they've been, because this is what happens. This all the time. And that's why I went and protested at the weekend. That's why I went and lent my body You know, I probably won't. I won't shout. I won't yell at the protests. I probably won't even sing, but I certainly will go and be there. And I don't expect to have an impact, but it makes me feel a little bit better that at least I'm trying to make myself heard. So I'm gutted if it does play out, because it hasn't. Let's be clear. The fat lady has not sung yet, right? So it could all well be that tomorrow it flips, for all we know. But all of this drama that we're getting today is completely predictable.
Yeah. It's always the same when it comes down to these big deals. And, you know, I can get, you know, maybe Tottenham were trying to save a bit here and a bit there on the Kudos and the Eze deal to maybe stretch the budget a little bit. But sometimes you got to read the room, realize that, you know, a player of Eze's quality, you know, if you leave him on the market too long, there is going to be a club that will swoop in. Now, it is unfortunate that Havertz has picked up an injury, and this has sort of accelerated Arsenal's, you know, interest in him, because I believe they were looking at him back in July. All the reports are stating, and that they presented a project to him, but never really triggered it with a bid. It's only really since the Havertz injury has come around that they triggered the bid. But if we would have wrapped this deal up, you know, before the weekend, which was reported that Spurs were trying to do it, then it sort of went on over the weekend. Then yesterday, the rumored that Spurs were trying to get it done quickly, and we couldn't. And I mean, this is why you've got to act urgent in the window. This is what Man City do. This is what Liverpool do. This is why they get the players they need to be able to kick on and win trophies. And this is something that we've been talking about a long time at Tottenham Hotspur. You've got to show ambition. You can't always be trying to pinch pennies. There are deals where you should be doing it, but someone like Eze, when he's on the market, you got to go and get the deal done, especially when you know there's going to be a heap of clubs chasing him. Jacob Anderson says, same shit, different window. Pay the money for quality players like Eze. Now we will go and buy someone who isn't proven and probably get burnt again. Well, look, that's the big problem. You know, that's what we're used to at Tottenham Hotspur, Jacob Anderson. You know, I was sitting there making a video today, and I was sitting there going, you know, and there's a video, and I was sitting there going, finally, we've signed someone that knows how to produce rather than potential. And, you know, Eze doubled down with the Kudos sign, and it sort of shows that Spurs maybe are realising that you can't replace the void of Kane and Son with potential, that you do need to go and sign players with productivity, and that maybe we were just starting to get it right. And it was really, you know, and then this comes out. I mean, it's absolutely typical Jacob Anderson, absolutely typical of Tottenham Hotspur. And look, now we probably will end up being left in the window, bringing in a gamble. Look, I think Savio or Savino, whatever you want to call him, I think he's a decent player, but on his own, he's not going to be enough to change the you know, Tottenham's front line. You still need that Eze type player in there. You still need that quality. El Canous is going to be another one, or whatever you want to pronounce. You know, the guy from Leicester City, is he really going to be good enough for what we need to really kick on and go and compete? I mean, it's an absolute disgrace, Jacob Anderson, an absolute disgrace. Got a couple more chats here. We'll bring them in, and then we'll get Ellie and we'll get Daniel in as well. Dropkick, your teacher says if Levy is serious, he'll go to Paris, slap down 70 million and say this is our player and no one else. But that won't happen. Trossard agent exposed how it works. I mean, this is the big problem, though, Dropkick, your teacher. I've no doubt that we are serious. But also, when it comes to, like, you know, trying to agree a deal with the player, the reason why he's going to pick Arsenal over Tottenham, forget about that Arsenal, you know, win more trophies than Tottenham Hotspur in general, you know, and that they're always in the hunt compared to Tottenham Hotspur. That's one deciding factor. But also, when it comes to negotiating with the player, Arsenal are paying more. You know, Tottenham are famous for trying to give them lower wages, but put them on performance incentive bonuses. You know, and look, if there was no other clubs interested, Eze probably would have snapped his hand off and signed that deal. But when you've got clubs like Arsenal coming, Spurs are going to have to change maybe what they're offering. Are they going to offer him a lot more money than Arsenal to get him over the line? I highly doubt it. And that's why I think when you see Arsenal hijacking the move and that he prefers Arsenal, you just don't back Tottenham Hotspur to do anything to try and sway him to changing his mind towards Tottenham Hotspur. But this is the problem. Look, you know, Sky Sports reported, I think, 10 minutes before Ornstein today, Tottenham are looking to include Richarlison. And as soon as I seen that, I got massive trouble on the horizon. Massive trouble on the horizon. It's like, I am shocked that that's even being reported. I'm shocked that we haven't agreed a price and the structure of the deal by now. The fact that we're still trying to piss about, including players and this and that, it's an absolute joke. Drop kick the teacher, and this is the result of it. We've also got Nicholas Walker. Good to see you, my man. I know it looks bad, but just think how good our financial sheets would look in April. A good credit score is the best trophy of all, and he's absolutely
sustainability is our aim.
Well, look, he said this, the club has to be self-sustainable. But you know what annoys me is sometimes you got to realize when you need to push the boat out and maybe break that a little bit. We don't seem to want to do that at Tottenham Hotspur. But look, we pick up all the awards for being self-sustainable, energy efficient, fucking everything else. Bar consistent rewards, and recognition on the football pitch. This is what's pissing Spurs fans off. We get all the recognition for FFPs and everything else. And do you know what really annoys me? I was sitting there thinking about this the other day. Like Todd Bowley just comes in, he has the ambition of wanting to go and win, gets into the Club World Championship, finds ways, Chelsea is stuck with all these financial fair play restrictions and all that other bollocks. He finds way around it, still going out there and buying every player you can imagine. And yet we're sitting here pissing about just trying to get one marquee player in. Yet that guy is signed one after another, after another, after another. And all it comes down to is just having the ambition to be the greatest club in the Premier League, my man. But big up Nicholas Walker, again, another disaster. Vaz Radfar says disgraceful and embarrassing. Levy fooled us again. Well, look, people say it's too cynical, but sometimes reports that come out of Tottenham in and around protests do so, and I do think sometimes they are put out there to try and stop the defeat, the soldiers getting down with the protests, and sometimes I do think it works. I do think it sways people's mind. Now that there's no protest on the horizon, especially over the next week, all of a sudden we're not going to get Eze. It's an absolute joke. Bad, but good to see you.
We're not the fools. We're not the fools. Levy is the fool.
I'm a fool. I sat there for 2-3 hours today putting together a wonderful video on Eze, and you think I would have learnt my lesson from the Morgan Gibbs White saga, because I also done the same for both of them not to happen. I am a fool. I got fooled again, I have to say it. We have Doc Bond 2024. We'll bring Ellie in on this one, and we'll get to Daniel. Completely unfair. We triggered Morgan Gibbs' right release clause. Look what happened. We tried to negotiate. Now this happens. He's saying that it's not Daniel Levy's fault, Ellie.
What? Well, I totally disagree, because he moves like a slug, and he is a slug. He's like as slimy as anything, Daniel Levy. He gives it the big I am in his talk with Eli, which was utterly disgraceful, right? Because he's talking about wine and shit like that. He's just a con artist. He's conning all us fans. He's leading us on. And this report coming out about Richarlison, what a shambles. That's more embarrassing. More embarrassing that we're going to give away a striker to get Eze to get this deal over the line, as if we're paupers. Like we're paupers, we're begging with our hats open, like that. Oh, you can have Richarlison if you give us Eze. It's embarrassing. And now Arsenal fans are going to just banter us because they're going to get him. He's a gooner as well. He started off at Arsenal, ended up at my husband's club because they gave him a chance, because everybody was rejecting him. And we wanted to give him a home. Yeah, he would have been a star player with us. Now he's going to go to Arsenal. Yeah, he might walk into their first team, but they've got Martin Odegaard, they've got Nweri, they've got this young boy called Max Dowman coming through, who's like lighting up their pre-season. And I've been watching him. The lad's brilliant. And they're going to get another one. It's like a plethora of talent going to the Arsenal while we've got no number 10 creating. And I'm feeling for Kudos now. I'm really feeling for Kudos because he's got no one to feed off.
Do you know what the sickening thing is? Arteta doesn't even know. He won't even know how to use it. He's got all this attacking talent that Arsenal have brought in, and they still rely on set pieces to go and win a game. He won't even know how to use it. But Ellie, what would you say to J-Mac here? And I think it's a fair sort of, for balance of discussion here, that maybe Steve Parish was the one stalling the deal. I mean, Is that what could Daniel Levy done in that situation? Could he maybe offered a bit more money to maybe sweeten it and change his mind a little, or do you think it is unfair to blame Daniel Levy if Steve Parish was the one holding up the deal?
We never know, right? But we know what Levy's like for 25 years. We've got evidence. Like Rain said, we've got the evidence that he does the same thing over and over and over again. So why were you to believe that Parish was the one who stalled? It just doesn't make sense because he wants to get the best money for the player. Yeah, I agree that. But pay the money then. Pay what he wants. We're just quibbling, and then this bloody Richarlison story comes in. It's ridiculous. It's so embarrassing for us as a club. And the Morgan Gibbs White one, that was a shambles as well. It's like everybody's laughing at us, right? And if we get El Canoes, it's ridiculous. If we get El Canoes, I mean, the player is a young boy, isn't he? He's 21. He's played in the Premiership, but he got relegated with the team, right? And he hasn't really, his stats are nothing to write home about, right? And this French boy, what's his name, Akliucci, he looks decent. I must admit. Akliucci, we've never heard of him, but there's lots of players we haven't heard of that are ballers.
Yeah,
but I wanted to get Eze. I've wanted him since he played at QPR.
No, but this is the problem. You can't be in the line for someone like Eze and then go to someone like El Canoes, who, let's be honest, half the fans wouldn't have a clue who he is. And it's back to the Danny Rose days where we'll have to whip out Google and everyone has to start watching compilation clips and trying to dig up whatever articles they can about the guy. It's absolutely embarrassing, and it shows a lack of ambition. It really we end up moving to El Canoes. And what's even more sickening about the Morgan Gibbs White saga is our failed pursuit of Eze today, and Douglas Luiz ends up getting a here we go to Nottingham Forest, another player that Tottenham were rumoured to be looking at and interested in, another player that maybe Tottenham could have pivoted to after Eze. Anyone that got onto me at the start of the window when I went early and I said it's already showing stinking of a window that's going to let a lot of fans down, and people told me to be patient and everything else. Well, we're coming to the end of the window. There's 12 days left. You back Tottenham Hotspur to get the rest of the deals done. Bear in mind, time is ticking, and they've had already, 2-3 months to get a lot of the big deals done that they could have tried, and we've absolutely failed in. So I want to know, Spurs fans out there may be starting to panic now, those who maybe had the opinion at the start of the window, just to relax and be calm and trust Daniel Levy and give him a chance to get the deals done. Daniel,
I know Daniel wants to go, but this is nothing to do with money. Absolutely. Anybody who thinks, I've seen some comments, where's the money? It's nothing to do with money. It's all to do with ego. The ego of one person. Right? Yeah. I don't like to say it. I like to say the transfer team. I like to say the club. But the reality is, it's all about one person's ego. Who likes to measure his against other people. And unfortunately, people like Parish, Marinakis, are having none of it. And they are showing him that actually they've got bigger. That's it. So it's all about ego. It's nothing to do with money. Money is irrelevant. It's ego.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And Daniel, we always know, Daniel prides himself on this. He always wants to win the negotiation. Well, this is the price you pay. But Daniel, I mean, look, how are you feeling about it, and who's to blame? Is there anything Daniel Levy could have done to get this deal over the line, or is it just a case of being unlucky?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Daniel Levy, your name, Daniel, you can take that off, first of all. You don't deserve that name. That's
right.
My name.
That's right.
I'm sorry for swearing. I need to stop. God,
don't worry.
Okay.
It's coming from your heart.
Apparently, this is the biggest joke ever. I mean, Eze was my... I can't do this. My favorite player for a long time. I was so excited for like 2 weeks. Whatever it's been, how long. We've been sitting there, twiddling our thumbs. Levy. It's been sitting there, and then Arsenal gets an injury, Havertz, and then like, oh, by the way, here you are. Hello, everyone. Oh yeah, here's the money. I take it. Thank you very much. That's all it takes. Well, we're sitting there, huh? Oh, you can do that? I can't do. Oh, we won the Europa League though. You don't win trophies. Yeah, but we offer him the money. Yeah, there you go. Take it. It doesn't, and that's the worst of all. Arsenal, our arch rivals, has taken him. If it was City, then I would be like a little bit more like, okay, fine. But our arch rivals has taken him under our fucking dick. You know.
Do you know what? Do you know what concerns me even more? Squat, we won a Europa League and we failed to sell, the project to Morgan Gibbs White enough for him to be able to force through his move from Nottingham Forest and his way out of there. And we've also failed to sort of sell it to Eberechi, and I think that's a huge concern of mine. That we're failing to sell Tottenham Hotspur to these players, especially off the back of a Europa League trophy. This is a time where you're supposed to use that bit of silverware so that you can entice players to your club of a better quality and use it to really kick on.
100%. And also, apparently we waited for them to get a replacement in. What is that? I've never heard of that before. We have to wait for them to get a replacement.
Arsenal didn't. They just went and triggered it.
Yeah.
And, it looks like the deal's getting done.
What is that? I remember when I heard that, I was like, I've never understood. What?
Yeah.
If we just take the money, they're going to sell him. I can't. My mind is completely gone, to be honest.
Honestly, you look at all the comments here, everyone is absolutely seething. Everyone's angry. I don't think there's one person, even the most optimistic fan is angry, at this one, because I think many of us were sort of sitting there I think many people were sort of going to look at it and go, right, you get Eze in, I'll sort of calm down about the transfer window, I'll look at that more in a positive way. But now that that's not happening, you have 12 days to try and, bring in this game-changing signing that we're looking to make. Yeah. I mean, time is ticking, and the longer you
got
leave
a number 10.
Sorry, I know, and Ellie, this is the problem, though.
We haven't got a creative player.
I know, but this is the problem, though, Ellie. The longer you leave it, the more it's going to cost to get this guy in, because the selling club is going to ask for more money, because they're going to look then, and then it's also going to be harder to get the deal done, because they're not going to let him go now without them getting their ready-made replacement in. So, it's going to be one big expensive blunder for Tottenham Hotspur to try and fix. I just want to take these couple of chats, and then I also want to bring in Brad Matthews as well, and we'll delve deeper into this conversation. Freddie, big up. Freddie says, Levy said that he only gets involved in negotiations. Well, that's the problem. Please, Spurs fans, wake up. We have also now given Arsenal the title. I mean, look, this is a huge concern of mine. I mean, I sort of heading into this summer, I was like, if they go and sign a real top-notch striker, I think that is the missing piece to their puzzle, let alone adding someone like Eze too, which just giving them more strength in depth. I think what has maybe let Arsenal down in years gone by is when they have had injuries to that front line, it's almost come back to bite them a little bit. They haven't really had that strength in depth. They're adding that now. So, and if they end up winning the title this season and Eze plays a massive part, Tottenham will look even more silly and even more of a laughing stock with the protracted negotiations. And you're absolutely spot on when it comes to Daniel Levy. I only get involved in negotiations. And like you say, that's the big problem. It's not like negotiations are ever swift with Tottenham Hotspur. We're always trying to save a buck here, putting performance-related add-ons to save, paying money here, there, and everywhere. And sometimes, it works in your favor. I'd argue with maybe some of the younger potential talent that you're signing. Maybe that's the way you should go. But with Eberechi, it should be, how much do you want? Right, there you are. Let's get the deal done. It's absolutely embarrassing, Freddie. Embarrassing. And to losing to Arsenal is even worse. It's absolutely sickening, my man. Really appreciate the support, though, buddy. We also have Schoonegg in the house. Hi, all. Absolutely typical from Spurs. But you know what? They will all say, they didn't want to come, but we tried to sign players. I mean, look, that's another massive problem, isn't it? It's always, they don't want to come. But the reason why they don't want to come is because over Daniel Levy's tenureship, he's never shown enough ambition to really kick on, with the desire and the hunger to really go and win trophies. He's never really paid the top wages. And at the end of the day, This is what we were sold the stadium dream for. That's why we gave up 3 transfer windows under Pochettino with no signings, so that we could build a game-changing stadium, so that we could match top wages that top clubs were playing around Europe and be able to generate the money to be able to also pay the fees. And we can't, and we won't do it. We're still looking to nickel and dime over someone like Eze. It's absolutely embarrassing. I'm always sick of we tried. I mean, Marinakis walking into Forest. He's in the Premier League 2 years. You don't hear him going, we tried. He gets it fucking done, and he keeps his best players as well. He's not looking to cash in on them all the time either. It's absolutely disgusting. And then the Harry 53, apparently Eze always preferred Arsenal. Why did we even pursue him in the first place? Another idiotic move by Levy. Yeah, look, I think he did always, prefer Arsenal. I think that was always common knowledge, but Arsenal never went in and put the official bid in. They never really went and pursued him, which then left the window open for other clubs to be able to make their move. And Tottenham made their move. But again, when you see the likes of Sky coming out 10 minutes beforehand, Tottenham have been trying to include Richarlison, and Richarlison does want to leave, which means you're trying to get them to accept the player that maybe they're not looking for. You're trying to, speak to a player and get him to make that move, which is protracting all the negotiations and everything else. It's absolutely madness that we left it this long. Like I said, you got to be sharp sometimes with players like this when they're hanging in the window. How much do you want? There's the money. Let's sign the check over and get the job done. We have left it open for something like this, where a club picks up an injury and then all of a sudden they go in for Eze. And the reason why Eze is more than likely to go to some of these clubs, because they're always in the trophy conversations. And that's exactly why we're not, because we don't show enough ambition. And then Matty Bynum, heartbreaking news, Big Dave, going to be picking up the scraps. With Eze coming, we could attract even better talent. Where's our creativity coming from now? Well, it's just relying on Kudos yet again. I know he turned up against Burnley, but you can't rely on him every single game. You do need other players to be able to contribute and help to that, just like when we had Kane and Son. But look, we never learn this, Stewie.
I've worked with I've worked with a lot of different people. I've worked with a few managers in particular who negotiate contracts in very particular ways. One of them, who I'm good friends with, but his approach was always, they want my money. Therefore, I'm going to make it as difficult as possible. I'm going to go over this contract. He would go back to them every single time the contract came to him with something that was wrong, even with things in the contract that hadn't changed in weeks, right? And he would draw it out and try to get as much money as possible. Another guy I used to work with, if he would just get people in a room, he would go, I want to get this deal done. And I'm just going to get you in a room and we're going to thrash this out and we're going to get it done. Now, Levy, unfortunately, is the first one. And the reality is, Parish didn't need our money. Didn't care. And neither did Marinakis. They don't care. What you need to do when somebody has something that you want is make them give it to you. Not wait for them to give it to you, because then they won't.
Yeah, absolutely spot
Sorry,
on.
Brian.
Absolutely spot on. But that's something that Daniel Levy needs to learn. But when you're a trained accountant and you're always looking to save bucks here and there, is he ever really going to change his way in negotiations? But of course, this is what the great Vinay was brought in to do. Arsenal was scared because they let him go because he was charged with this great turnaround. And look at this new guy straight away. Gyökeres looks like Eze is being delivered. We were sold that this guy's the Messiah. He can get the deals done and everything else. Well, I mean, the only thing he's done is schmooze Daniel Levy and brought him up to a fucking hotel room after a bottle of red wine. It's absolutely disgraceful. Big up the owl lad. What's the story? Says get ready for a player we've never heard of coming in on loan. I mean, exactly this. By the way, everyone's been wishing you well and saying that it's great you're out of hospital as well. So big yourself up. But this is exactly it. Either a player we've never heard of or a loan deal. Get Google ready, Get Google. Make sure you clear your history. But Brad, I mean, look, how are you feeling first of all about the breaking news today? I mean, I had one title on the show, literally about Richarlison maybe being used as a make weight so that we can bring in. We said, look, like great show, positive, brilliant. Eze's getting done. And then 5 minutes later, I had to change the title. All of a sudden, Eze ain't happening. It's being hijacked by Arsenal. How are you feeling? And look, where do you place blame on this? Because I think you are one that doesn't really, you blame Daniel Levy for absolutely everything. So do you believe Daniel Levy has dropped the ball on this one, Brad, or is this just the reality of a competitive transfer market?
First of all, David, I haven't seen you for a while, so I hope everything's okay and your father's okay. And all that sort of stuff. So best wishes there, mate.
Good to see you.
I normally what I do, I normally look at my phone and see if the fan show's on, and wait for the and there's normally a thing. And I sat down tonight, I couldn't see it, so I thought, oh, maybe it'll be tomorrow, whatever. So I sat down and I saw the thing about Richarlison, and I thought, oh, that's probably rubbish. Sat down, had my tea, was really nice and relaxed, watched a bit of TV, and then I looked at my phone and saw what happened with the Arsenal deal. And I'm literally shaking. I'm that angry. My beef with Levy has always been, we always don't go that little bit extra to get the players we want. Paratici, when he first got the job at Tottenham, said that sometimes you've got to pay over the odds to get the players that you want to make your team successful. Another analogy, which I think Sean Butler's come up with, is the fact that, if your plumbing goes bad on a Sunday, then you've got to pay over the odds to get a plumber to come in and do your plumbing. And we needed a number 10, and Eze was that player. And somehow we screwed up. He's been negotiating for, 2 weeks, is it now? But if you go back even further, we wanted Eze at the start of the window. If you go back even further, we're looking at Eze last season's transfer window. And not once have we thought, okay, you know what, speculation is accumulation, whatever, let's pay them the money that they want and get a player that could, even if one player can make Tottenham go up the table by about 3 or 4 places, that pays back the money, the extra £5-6 million you pay for that player. And yet Levy doesn't seem to do this. And so my blame is totally on him. The guy in the chat who earlier said that he's the one that all he does is negotiations. Well, he's spot on. He's bloody spot on. You look back, all right, we didn't know how good Grealish was going to be. We missed out on Grealish because of umming and ahhing about the deal. We missed out on Bruno Fernandes about umming and ahhing about it. You can even go back to Martino. We ummed and ahed about the deal, missed out on him. It just happens all the time. It's a particular moment in time. I don't even know if I want to go to the Tottenham Bournemouth game, the next home game. I really don't, because I'm thinking, well, who are we going to sign between now and then? The window. Not the ones we want. We all blame Marinakis for the Morgan Gibbs White deal, but who knows? The way this one's gone, we could probably it's down to him as Levy as well. So we've had two players that we desperately needed, and we screwed up. We knew we needed in the midfield. We knew that Maddison was injured, that Kulusevski was injured at the start of the window. And now we've got, 2 weeks to go? And we're still without that number 10? It's actually disgraceful. This guy, if this guy was in charge of a football team, it would have been sacked years ago. Any CEO is in charge of doing something. And we heard today on the news that apparently the CEOs pay all around for the top 100 FTSE companies has gone up by 7%, more than it was a year ago. And the reason they give is because, if that makes that company successful, they get part of that money. And yet we don't. We keep giving this guy loads and loads of money to spend, or loads and loads of bonuses and that sort of thing. Meanwhile, we get our concessions taken off. Meanwhile, we get the Auto Cup scheme goes, although I think it's back again because we kicked up a stink. We have to pay the highest season ticket prices in the country. And yet what do we get for it? Absolutely bugger all. And then the one time, and I'm not bringing it down to the Ange Postecoglou question, but the one time we actually do win something, he sacks the manager that won us the trophy. So I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm just so angry tonight because I can't. I've got to that stage now where I think, well, I can't see it changing. We've got 2 weeks of this window to go.
Exactly 2 weeks. And what we're going to find over these next 2 weeks, I think many Spurs fans are out of the realization, it's a limited pool now. There's not a lot Tottenham can do in terms of bringing in that real desired quality that we need in that number 10. Someone that's a game changer. I'd argue anyone that they bring in now, some youngster or relatively unknown sort of prospect that we're going to end up bringing in. I'd rather give someone like Jamie Donnelly back and rather give someone like him the opportunity, rather than take another gamble. At least with Jamie Donnelly, I know exactly what I'm going to get, rather than piss about and take another gamble. But off the back of what Harry53 says here, guys, I want to know what we should do when it comes to the Havertz Eze deal now. Do we sit there and sort of try and battle it out with Arsenal and try and convince them to sign on the dotted line for Tottenham Hotspur? Now that we've made our bed, do we lie in it and try? Or do we look to move on quickly and pursue other targets very, very quickly? What would you like us to do? This is an open question. Whoever wants to come in on this.
Both. Both. You go
It's a done deal. I mean, all the tweets.
You go all in to try and get Eze, and at the same time you go and do another deal, and then you sign on the dotted line with if either get done. Right, that's what you go and do. But Brad's actually brought up something that I hadn't even considered. I loved going and sitting in my seat. I loved going this weekend, catching up with everybody. The guys behind me were back. There's an old guy behind me who had a problem. He nearly lost his foot and missed like the last 10 games of the season. Didn't miss much. It was great to see him back. It was great to see everybody else. Unfortunately, two guys next to me have stopped going because they lost their concessions that they were looking for. Although I had two young ladies next to me, so sight better looking than I told him. I was like, they're a sight better looking than you are, mate. And they had a good time. But the ground is going to be toxic. Yeah. The ground is going to be awful. It's going to be horrendous.
The one I feel sorry for is, of course, all of us Spurs fans, but Thomas Frank. You know, he's made it clear he needs this player. That's why we went after Gibbs White. That's why we've gone after, Eze to try and fill this position. And, here we are already one game into the season, already going up against Man City, straight away into the season. They've already got their squad put together and prepared, and we're sitting here still pissing about trying to assemble our squad. And this is where Spurs fans get really annoyed. Let's take a couple more comments here. Absolutely.
I cut across Eugene. I don't know if Eugene's got something.
I'll get back to Eugene now.
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at this moment in time is a glorified pub, basically.
Look, it's a venue. It's a showcase venue. We know that. Look at every other sport we have there. We should have more ambition to try and get Beyonce at the Tottenham Hotspur and the rugby league final and NFL than what we do for our own actual football team, which is basically what all this has been built off the back of. It's absolutely disgusting. Absolute Tiger says, I knew this would happen. Levy out. The guy chatting shit about fighting on all fronts, but won't pay what it takes to do it. It's almost like Levy did this just to get Cutie Romero to sign his extension.
Oh, yeah.
Also, the timing of it around the protest. Let's not forget about that. And then we also have Al Ben, big up Al Ben. A lot of owners seem to play hardball when Levy comes around because of his reputation. He's great financially, but he is in the wrong business.
Yep.
Well, look, he'd argue he's in the right business. Whatever day he ends up selling his shares of Tottenham Hotspur for, he's quids in. He's made an absolute fortune off the back of this football club, That's the reason why he got into football in the first place. When the Premier League came about and stuff like that, let's not forget he was one of the first ones to go after multi-club ownership. He had Slavia Prague and other clubs as well. He obviously seen that football was a cash cow waiting to happen, and he got involved in it. That's why he's here. He doesn't have ambition to go on and win things. Like I said at the end of last season, that's why he's like Ange. Ambition costs money. Daniel Levy doesn't like parting with too much money, so that's the big problem here, Al Ben. It's a huge, huge problem. You look at Marinakis, look how quickly he's transformed Nottingham Forest. Look at the players they're already starting to sign. Players that we're interested in or rumored to be interested in for a couple of years and couldn't get signed on the dotted line, like Douglas Luiz. It's concerning. And all we get is excuses every single transfer window. We've tried. It's not our fault. Like Matt Law is the latest. Matt Law is the latest journalist to, put out a tweet today. Tottenham feel they've done everything possible to sign Eze. We always see stuff like this, and I'm absolutely fed up. Sorry, Eugene, you were cut across. We'll get you in, and then we'll get Kate and Ellie in as well.
I mean, it's a done deal. Romano just tweeted as well that it's going to be wrapped up shortly. Like all the terms are agreed, which is, I mean, Levy, he's an easy target. We all know. My question is, our recruiting
how can they
team
get that done so quickly, though, Eugene? Right?
No, but
we were told we have to wait for Palace to get players in.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying, something else. Like, look at Force. They signed 5 players or 4 players, right? Like all that Don Fabio crap. Like he's on the phone. Can he, does he only know Juve and Italy and that's it? Like, what are we doing? What's Lang doing? What's Fabio doing? What's the scouting team doing? How come it's Morgan Gibbs White and that's it? And then we waste 3 weeks. We move on to Eze. That's it. No other links. It's like they're working on one deal at a time. Not only they cannot close the deal for whatever reason, there are no other targets either. And again, Alistair Gold is going to come out last day of the window and is going to say that Frank always wanted Alkanu's #1 target or some kid from Uzbekistan, and that's it. So yes, Levy, it's embarrassing. Like, as it was available for 2 seasons, for 2 years, no big team was going for him. If he would have gone to City and Liverpool, I'd be like, you know what, fair play.
Yeah.
We could have gotten him for 2 years now. The release clause was there. It doesn't matter if he's an Arsenal fan. Every player is a fan of some team, but they're footballers. They play football. The fandom doesn't matter. They would go to a team to play Champions League. If the team pays the wages, they're going to go. So all that Arsenal nonsense, I don't buy it, right? We've been messing around for 2 weeks with Eze. Just pay the money and get it done. And I'm sure Levy or Vinay or whoever, they were talking about the structure of the deal, how much money up front, all that nonsense. Arsenal wraps this up in 1 day. And it's not like they only agreed terms with Eze. They agreed terms with Parrish as well. So how come they can do it and we cannot, right? So, but again, Levy is an easy target. We all know it's like how he moves. But our recruiting team, again, Lang, Paratici, just the whole network. What are we doing? We're, one target at a time. We waste 3 weeks on each target. We don't get them, and that's it. Now it's crazy.
I mean, like all the reports the last couple of days, Tottenham have agreed a fee. They're trying to deal, you put the structure of it together and stuff. And then you see the Richarlison thing come out today off Sky Sports before Ornstein tweeted. It's clear that Spurs hadn't agreed a deal, that they were still trying to negotiate, what players they're going to include. Let's not forget, I think this happened with Pedro Neto last summer at Wolves, didn't it? We were trying to include Ollie Skip and some of our riffraff to try and get the deal done rather than just go and pay the money. And they're like, this is my problem. If it happened last summer with Pedro Neto, where are you learning your lessons? Why are you still trying to include players? Just go and get the player in the door. And then if you want to offload that player, offload them. But now we obviously run the risk of upsetting Richarlison, who started the season on fire with 2 goals. I mean, we're one big basket case of a club. Dropkick, your teacher says, Dave, will this upset or be Frank if shocked? Frank won't walk over this. Managers very rarely will walk over, not getting players they want and stuff like that. At the end of the day, they believe they can still make it work. They all believe that they're the greatest in the game and stuff like that. So they're never ever going to walk over something like this artist at all, unfortunately. Frank, look, will just toe the club line like he always does. I was concerned a couple of weeks ago when he came out and said, I'm very happy with the Tottenham squad. I've heard that by every Tottenham manager. And very quickly into season when results start turning, you really find out the truth that they were never really happy with the Tottenham squad. King Hoddle says, this is my point, Dave. Parrish was always going to sell to Arsenal. The 2 clubs stitched us up. I mean, first of all, good evening, Kate. How are you? I mean, do you feel like King Hoddle here, or do you blame Tottenham's protracted negotiations and trying to, give them Richarlison and fucking 2 light bulbs? I don't know. We're joke.
Big up, Dave. I'm good, thank you. Big up to everyone on the panel. I've just been on the football terrace as the only Tottenham fan, surrounded by a host of Arsenal fans who are celebrating and jubilant at their
I hope you held your own. I
did hold my own. Don't worry about that. But look, first of all, I've seen people all this week saying Vinay has done a brilliant job of getting this deal, and then as soon as it goes tits up, it's Levy's fault. You can't have it both ways. It's one way or the other. If Vinay's doing the deals and it goes tits up, then Vinay's to blame. If Levy's doing them and it goes tits up, then Levy's to blame. But look,
they're both to blame because they both were sitting there, complimenting each other's business acumen. They're practically fucking spanking each other.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, we've just come second in a 1-horse race. We had every opportunity to sign Jose and get it over the line. We could have played the release clause. We could have gone in this week and got it done. A big club does not let, and that the selling club dictate that their player is going to play in a European game tomorrow night. Do you really think Arsenal are going to buy Eze and allow him to play in the Conference League? Never in 10 million years is that going to happen. But that's because they've moved like a big club. They've come in. We've done all the negotiating for them. They've come in, said, right, we know the price. Tottenham's agreed it. We'll match it. Eze is an Arsenal fan anyway. He was in their academy. Job done. And we're left with egg on our face again. And it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing from the board. It's double embarrassing that Levy's come out and said he wants to win the Premier League and Champions League and then allows this to happen again. It's just, it's humiliating as a Tottenham fan to see this happen. We had it with Morgan Gibbs-White. didn't learn our lesson. Now we've had it with Eze. We've let it drag on for days. As soon as the Havertz news come out today, I knew. I said to Jimbo straight away, this is bad news for us. And look, this what's happened. And
just to be clear, he's an Arsenal fan who's been trolling the comments constantly.
Right.
It's quite funny actually. It's quite good. But I think King Hoddle's right. I think he's absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. And this is the fundamental problem that we've got at Spurs. The fundamental big businesses, forget big clubs, big businesses rotate their exec team, right? They rotate their exec team. They rotate the CEO. They rotate the chief operations officer. They rotate the CFO. These people are not in post for 20 plus years, especially in a small industry. The problem is so many people have got our number, right? Parish, yes, absolutely. I bet you Parish would sell for 5 million less to that person over there than to the person who he doesn't want to be seen to have got one over on him on. Ego. Remember me at the start? It's not about money. It's not about these people have got so much money, it doesn't matter. It's about ego and power. And at the moment, we've got none and they've got lots.
It's an absolute joke. Absolute joke. Davy Shire says, going back to bed. I mean, Davy, anyone over your side of the world, Australia, New Zealand, any Spurs fans, I would say to them all, just head back to bed this morning. There's nothing exciting to get up for. You know, you don't want to be sitting there dealing with this news coming out and having to face this and Arsenal fans and stuff like that. Just head back to bed, Davy. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. But I mean, what the hell is going on at Tottenham Hotspur? We're having our pants pulled down by Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. I mean, what the hell is going on? They're pulling our pants down. They're making a joke of us. And you know what? What's even worse is, you know, you had Forest fans giving it. Why would he want to go to Tottenham? Look at the state of Tottenham Hotspur. They're only back in the Premier League for 2 years after a 22-year fucking absence. I mean, we're having our pants pulled down. Steve Parish has won 2 trophies, just as many as Daniel Levy. It took him 21 years to win. I'm absolutely sick of it. And it does come down to, you know, ambition. We say Daniel Levy's does the best with what he's got. No, someone like Steve Parish has done the best with what he's got. You know, look at him, same amount of trophies as Daniel Levy. I'm absolutely fed up with it. Anyway, Ellie, where are you at now with the whole thing? I mean, and have you any names you want to put forward that Tottenham should go after before the window's out? I mean, it's a very dry market at the minute. There's not a lot left. So if you can conjure up a name, I'm going to start calling you Harry Potter.
Yeah. No, don't start calling me that. But the thing is, you said we've got our pants pulled down, but we've been kicked in the goalies as well. You know what I mean? It's like, I agree with Rain about the ego thing. It is a bit about ego because they've got so much money, these men. They know how to draw the power card, yeah, and stump another bloke they don't like. And Levy is not well liked. He's not just not well liked by us. He's not well liked by Southampton. Don't like him either. They don't want anything to do with him. Maranaki said piss off to him.
Are we seeing Daniel Levy's tricks now being turned on him and people getting their payback on him now?
It's never
It is. It's definitely payback. But the thing is us fans who are suffering because now we're going to go to Man City with no creative player in the middle because we're not going to get a deal done. Is it Saturday we play them? Yeah, Saturday. We've got 3. We're not going to get a player in that quickly because we don't move fast as a club. And then Arsenal, right? They've come in. He was their academy player as well, but they rejected him as a young lad. They rejected him, and now because he supports them as well, he's got to go there. He hasn't got no choice really because he's an Arsenal fan as well. I don't believe in this. Because he supports Arsenal, he can play for another club. He's going to choose Arsenal. He will, right? But the thing is, yeah, go on, Greg.
I was going to say, the thing is, from what we've read, he was quite happy to come to Tottenham. He wanted to go to Tottenham because he knew that Arsenal weren't interested. So I don't think, he wasn't saying, "Oh, I'm not going to go anywhere."
How long it took us to get the deal done?
Yeah, exactly.
Arsenal get an injury to Havertz, and all of a sudden, they quickly act.
What I don't get, Havertz is a striker, and Eze is the number 10. He's not a striker. So
He
if
scored
anything,
well.
they should go and get another striker, shouldn't they?
They
They're
were
stupid.
They
They're
were looking
stupid as well.
They were looking for a winger, really, and Eze can play on the wing or through the middle, and he scores goals, so it was perfect, really.
Yeah, he scores goals, but he's not like a striker score goals. That's what I mean. He's not going to get you 20 to 25 goals. He might get you 10 to 15. But I just don't get Arsenal. Why won't they just go and get a striker? Let us have Eze. Why do they have to rain on our parade? You know, I'm sick of that club as well. I'm sick of our club, but I'm sick of their club as well.
But you know what, Eddie, though?
Stealing from under our noses.
But you know what? As much as I hate them, fair play to them. They've gone off the last couple of windows with intention, with ambition of trying to catch Man City, trying to catch Arsenal. They didn't care how much it took to get Declan Rice or whether people cared or they didn't care whether people thought they paid over the odds. They went and got him. They knew they needed a striker this summer, Gyökeres. They went and got him. They've gone after it with the best of their ability, some of these windows. And you look at Tottenham, I mean, we're having a pants pulled down by Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. It's absolutely embarrassing. And the only reason why we're sitting in this situation is down to intent from Tottenham Hotspur, its board and its negotiation teams. That's the reality of it. Like, we could have had this deal wrapped up weeks ago. Like, he had a release clause on the 15th of August. How have we not gone in and triggered the release clause and tried to get the deal done before Arsenal even had a chance of picking up injuries?
I agree with that, but they're not coming out. They're not smelling of roses, Arsenal. They're not exactly won loads of trophies in the last 5 years since they've won a trophy. We just won one in May.
No, but they're getting there. They got deep in Europe last season.
Yes, they are getting there.
They're sniffing around
but they haven't got.
And the more they make these signings and the more they add to them, especially in the forward areas, which is where they needed them, the more it's going to propel them towards their ambition. You look at us. Where is our ambition in this market? There is none. There is none. It's a joke. And this is what pisses me off. Your marquee signings, you've got to go and try and get them done early in the window. Because
I agree with that.
We leave them to later in the window. We're trying to nickel and dime and save a buck here and there and trying to pick up opportunities. But once you leave it for the first game of the season, or even, over the course of preseason, you run the risk of clubs picking up injuries, bigger clubs than you, and then all of a sudden going for your targets. This is why I keep saying at Tottenham Hotspur, it's essential we act smarter. If we want to compete with these clubs, we have to be the smartest guys in the room. We have to go and try and identify this talent before they become the big stars. We also have to pick off the talent from the likes of your Palaces, your Brightons, your Nottingham Forest and clubs like that. And we're showing the ability that we're showing an inability to be able to do so, and it's a huge concern. I mean, we finished 17th last season. Where was the urgency on this board? Where was the urgency on this board to go and fix our problems? While everyone else was picking up the best of the rest from around the Premier League, we were sitting there fumbling around with Thomas Frank, whether we wanted him to be our manager or not. Then when everyone else was making signings, we were debating whether we wanted to give him backroom team to work with or not. And then we were sitting there going, well, look, we're going to let you assess the squad, when he would have told them in the meeting in the first place what positions he wanted to sign in to make his system work and stuff like that. And we brought in a new manager because we want to go in a new direction. We want to go and win a Premier League and a Champions League. And we're pissing about getting these targets in the door. We should have learned our lessons last season. We left it late in the transfer window. We signed Udeber, got injured, signed Dominic Solanke, comes to this club with a record of no injuries, all of a sudden picks up injuries because you're not bringing him in early to work with the team, work with the demands, get used to the tactics. And we sit here and wonder why Tottenham are falling further and further down the pecking order. Because when you do your business late in the window, you're already 4 or 5 games deep into the Premier League. You're already costing yourself points. And this is the price of not doing business. And I'm absolutely fed up with it. But
the worst thing that can happen now, and I do believe they're going to go and do it, okay? The worst thing that can happen now, and I'm going to say it, I do believe they will go and do it, because this is what happens all the time, right? The worst thing that can happen now is that they go and get the wrong player. That's the worst thing. Anyone who's going, oh, we need that attacking midfielder. No. We don't need the wrong one. Because if you get the Palhinha deal, he's brilliant. It's a 1-year loan, and then he's gone. If they go and sign El Khanous, who's just been relegated, a perfect Spurs player, by the way, a perfect Tottenham transfer team player, just got relegated, okay, looks kind of promising, hasn't really proved anything, perfect player for the Tottenham transfer team. if we go and get the wrong player, we're going to have another. I've been at the club the second longest period of any player currently there, Brian Hill. That's what we're going to end up with. We must stop getting the wrong players. We should have gone to Eze. We should have gone, look, mate, you got 2 days to sort this out. Enough of this. Can we debunk some of this crap that people come out with, right? Fans come out with. If the transfer window hasn't closed, right? Can we just get rid of that? Can we get rid of that phrase and never say it again? Okay?
Yeah.
Crap, it's rubbish. The first milestone is pre-season. Actually, no. The first milestone is the first day of the window. The most important milestone is the start of pre-season, not the end of the window, right? And the second one that I see people come up with is he's being professional. No. If he wants to bloody come, make it known. He's not a slave. He's not a slave. He's not a servant, right? If he wants to move, then he would go to the club, just like we should have demanded Morgan Gibbs White to do, and go, I want to leave. I want you to do the job. I want you to do the deal now. If he doesn't do that within 2 days, walk to your next one on the list, because he ain't coming.
Oh, we're just an absolute shambles of a corporate basket case.
I can't think of anybody else who was going to get him. What other number 10 is available?
But that's the next talking point. I mean, does anyone have any names or suggestions they can throw out there? I mean, you know, we're sitting here talking about El Canoes, but he could very well be on his way to Palace this evening doing a medical to replace.
Yeah, he probably is. He's signed on the dotted line.
That would be too embarrassing if we signed him.
If it was up to me, we get no one. Don't get anyone and let Frank deal with it. Let Frank deal with it for a year, and over that year, work out who we need to get, who needs to be on that list. Don't do any emergency signings, because emergency signings are with us for 4 or 5 years. You end up with Tells, Gills. You end up with all these players, Basumas. You end up with all these players who we have got on our books. That's why we've got the squad we've got, because we keep on looking for value, and we keep on looking for not second or third best, but the ones that we can possibly get done. It's the wrong approach. If you can't get it done, you walk away. I would prefer Donnelly right now than any other player, because at least if we have him, then next season we can get the player who we actually want.
I mean, I was even because I've basically not expecting a lot this season, because it's a new manager, new tactics. I mean, I think I've said this many times. I think we might have a good go in the FA Cup, because by the time the FA Cup comes around, they've had time to bed in with the new tactics, and as long as we don't get a really bad draw, I think we could do well. So I'm willing to cut a little bit of slack, and if we'd have signed Eze and Silvano or whatever on transfer deadline day, I would be willing to. I agree with what David was saying earlier about you want to train with the team, blah blah blah. I totally agree with that. And in an ideal world, you get them in straight away. But I would be, because those two players are good players. I'd be willing to do it on the deadline day, because at least then we can say we've got them. Let's bed them in for the whole season and then go next season. Because I've already not written off this season, but I've already not expecting too much in this season. But we can't even do that now. So it's what can you do?
We need to get rid of those thoughts, mate. We need to get rid of those thoughts that as long as it gets done, but that's it. We need to get rid of it.
I'm agreeing with you totally. But from me as a fan, I'm thinking, okay, if we get them in, I'm willing to give them that little bit of slack. This one time, yeah. I agree with totally what you were saying. It's got to be done at the start of and what happened this season is exactly the same. When we got into the Champions League under Conte, we suddenly signed, now whether you agree with the signers or not, doesn't matter. We signed Richarlison, we signed Basuma really straight away. Everyone's going, the transfer window, we're going to do it this time, it's changed. And it hadn't. And this window came along and we signed Kudus relatively quickly. And there's another player, I can't remember his name. And he thought, at the time it was, we got Kudus and we got Morgan Gibbs White. And we're apparently in the market for Wharton. We go, great, the window we at last changed. And of course we haven't. You know, it's and I also, and I've said this before, I can't remember if I said it on this show. We all saw the interview with Daniel Levy, you know, when he said, "Oh, we want to win the Champions League," and we're all going, "Yeah, great!" And I think, "Oh, brilliant! At last, he's on video now. He must have something at the back of his sleeve. There must be some investment coming in." Now I think it was, and then we saw the interview with Gary Neville. Now I think that's just a publicity thing. That's all that was, because he'd taken a lot of flack, a lot of the protests. It's okay, get him out there in the public eye. "Oh, hi, I'm Daniel. I really want this club to do well. I'm a really, you know." So I think that's all publicity stunt. It was just
ego, mate.
Yeah,
Ego.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
it's ego. That's what it is. Look, I'm very, very clear. Right? The one thing that can make Frank fail is to start getting him a load of crap players.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. We cannot shackle him with a player who was an emergency buy for 4 or 5 years. That means that we can't get other players. I'm absolutely clear. If we can't get a player of the quality, and I'm not talking about Canese, I don't think we should be getting this kid. He's too much of a risk.
I'd still go.
No one.
I'd still have a look at Paquetá or Paqueta, however you want to say it, from West Ham. He wants to go, and I think he would fit into Tottenham. I don't know what you think, Dave, but I think he's an option. I like him. And he was cleared of his charges. Now a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a no dickheads policy," but he was cleared. Harvey Elliott's going around, but I'd rather have Lewis Paqueta, if I'm honest.
The problem is, do you think West Ham are going to sell 2 of their best players to us in one summer?
Well, they want bids, don't they? So there could be a deal to be done.
Yeah, they could, but I'm just not sure they're going to sell us 2 of their best players in the one window. You know, their fans would be absolutely outraged. Some of them have already given up their season tickets. They'll completely give them up if they end up selling Lewis Paqueta to us as well. But also, you know, if Daniel Levy doesn't see the reason to try and swiftly get Eze over the line, I don't see him sanctioning the money on a risk like Paqueta, you know, with the gambling problems and all that have surrounded him. So I don't see him sanctioning that risk, which probably takes him off Spurs' radar, you know, to a large degree. So we're probably going to dip into the French league and probably try and pull someone known there, like we've done before with Kudus and NG and a lot of Ndombeles and players like that. Probably where we're going to go.
What about Olmo, as someone in the chat mentioned?
I don't think that's happening, but I agree. I think Paqueta is the perfect profile for us. He's had a couple of seasons in the Premier League. He's proven that he can play in the Premier League. He would come in and he would slot in and he would do a nice job for Frank. I think he's absolutely the right profile. Not El Khanous, who's just been relegated after having one promising season. But that's
even Morgan Rogers' name was getting thrown around as well. But
again, another promising.
I like him.
Yeah, I like him. I mean,
and Aston Villa need money so that they can move this market.
Exactly.
Did he go to Newcastle?
Morgan Rogers, no, he's still in the market.
Who went to Newcastle?
Was it Jacob Ramsey that went?
Oh, right, okay.
Jacob Ramsey. Look, if we could still pull in Morgan Rogers and say Johan Visa, you know, we can still salvage this window. But
yeah,
you know, with 12 days to go, I'm not sure Daniel Levy has enough time to try and structure a deal for like Morgan Rogers. Aston Villa ain't going to let him go cheap. They're going to demand big money. And, you know, Daniel Levy is going to want to, you know, put somebody in, like we may pay 60 million, but at least 10 million of that will be on performance related, you know, bonuses and stuff like that. And trying to get Aston Villa to, you know, try and work and structure a deal with Daniel Levy when they could sell the likes of, you know, I think Leon Bailey left today, and there's other players that they could sell with clubs where they'll get deals done much quicker, which might give them the funds to be able to operate. So it just comes down to Daniel Levy, whether he's willing to pivot very, very quickly and go all guns blazing then after Morgan Rogers, you know, to try and save face a little bit and get the deal done at all costs. But I mean, again, if he's not willing to go out and just, you know, pay the money up front or whatever it takes to get Eze done, then even if because it's been reported that Paris was changing some of the structures, even if he is, just agree to them. I don't care. What do you want? Let's do it. You know, that's what Arsenal have done. Basically, they've come in. What do you want? Let's do it. Let's get the deal done. It's done tonight. You know, and that's the big difference. But I just don't. you know me, I have no faith in Johan Lang. I don't believe he has, be able to sell Tottenham Hotspur to a lot of these players. I think he can sell, the club to young players that want to make their mark in the Premier League and stuff like that. But he can't sell it to ready-made, proven players. And I think we've seen that, time and time again since we brought him in. Paratici has been pissing around, still in this advisory role when he should have been brought in as soon as his bound ended, straight in as director of football to try and get these deals done and get them done with some urgency. That's one thing that he's done very well when he was director of football. He got deals done, and he managed to persuade Daniel Levy to do them his way as well, which was a massive help. Johan Lang has no pull in the boardroom, which means Daniel Levy is sitting there, with no one that's in there that's been able to bend his ears. So that's hindered us this transfer window. I just have no faith in this transfer committee. I never have done. I smelt a rat when we were in trouble last summer when we needed 4 or 5 quality players to kick on. We brought in a load of youngsters. Last January, we were in massive need of help. Postecoglou was practically on his knees begging for help. We brought in youngsters and go, there's the solutions to your problems. Players that needed time to bed in and time to develop. There you go, Ange. There's the solution to your problems. We finished 17th this season, and we've been pissing about this summer transfer window. And the only player of note we've brought in has been Kudus. Pellegrini, a good bit of business on loan. But that's about it, even though we have massive problems. So, look, for me, I think so far up to this date, this transfer window has been a massive failure, and I think it's going to end in a damp squid, to be quite honest. I just don't see where Tottenham pivot or move from here. I really don't.
What we do is we keep faith with Frank, and we don't shackle him. That's what we do. We cannot make him a failure, and we will make him a failure if we give him the wrong players. It's better that we don't give him. It's better that we don't shackle him with the wrong player for 4 years than give him no players and let him just sort out what he's got. Because actually, look, I was there at the weekend, right? And fantastic day, including being at the protest. Me and 10 others, Kate. But he got the job done with the players at hand. Three average age 20-year-old kids, right? We've got Kulu coming back in a couple of months. It's not all doom and gloom. It really, really, really isn't. But
a couple of months, waiting for players of that quality to come back could cost you points. And then all of a sudden puts Frank under massive pressure.
This is the frustrating thing about it. I think the players we've got at the club, the young players, and we saw them on Saturday.
Havertz injured and tied up Eze today. We shouldn't have to wait.
Yeah, sorry. But what I'm saying is that the frustrating thing I find about the whole thing is the fact that we've got some decent young players. The way that Sarr, Bergwall, and Gray played on Saturday was very good, but you can't expect them to be playing in every single game. You need experienced players to go alongside them to bring them through, and you can rotate your club. And that's the frustrating thing is we've got the basis of a team there, but we just need 2 or 3 extra players, decent, proven Premier League players that are of the age that they've got the experience, a little bit of gold dust, which I think Eze would have provided. Put them all together, and who knows what will happen. But now it's like, well, okay, guys, remember what you did for us last season when you helped us out, played in defence when we had all the injuries. Sorry, mate, but you got to do it again this season.
The thing is, we're one or two injuries away from being back into the same situation we were last season.
Exactly.
We can sit here and say, look, Gray individually has a lot of talent. Bergwall individually has a lot of talent. Udeberg, players like that. But as a team, we don't make a good team. We've seen that last season. You might see individuals step up in different games, but then the next game they'll be underwhelming. But together, it's not a good team. That's why we finished 17th last season. That's why there's an urgency.
I think my argument, David, is that Thomas Frank, I think, could improve them and make them into a team. Much more so than Postecoglou had the mental type thing, but as a team and tactics.
I get what you're saying, right? You look at the Burnley game. Burnley aren't any great shapes. We had a young midfield in there. They still had 14 shots on our goal, and a better team with them breakaways would have absolutely punished us.
I mean,
we can't get too hyped up off the back of it either. A better team would have really punished us, and that's where my concerns come in. People lambasted me last year for not praising the transfer window. I said there's massive trouble on the rise, and no one listened. And people today have just get behind Angie's magic. These managers ain't magic. They need quality. That's why there's been an urgency to go after this number 10, because there's obviously players there that Frank feels he can't develop the way Spurs fans think he can. That's why we're trying to sign these players.
What I think Thomas Frank could have, with players like Eze, made the young players into a decent team and got these players. I mean, we all know that, if you look at our first 11 and think what's going to win the Premier League, it's not going to be Odeberg, it's not going to be Matters Tell, it's probably not going to be all the other young players. But we just need the big player, the good, classy players to go alongside them. And we only need 2 or 3, Well,
our problem is, Brad, we've had the Pochettino squad, right? And we've had players that were producing. And all of a sudden, in order to replace that, we've gone down the line of just signing potential after potential after potential after potential. And there needs to be a massive realization at this football club. When you've got players that are producing, that's where you supplement it with potential, not the other way around, where you replace it with potential and then you're trying to supplement it with a couple of, bits of experience of players that you have to have 11 that produces, 16 that produces, and then after that supplement it with your youngsters. We're doing it all wrong. That's a massive part of why we finished 17th last season.
I mean, Dave, something else that you and I have been going on about for some time as well. We've let our own young and promising players who we haven't paid any money for, apart from, as Sherwood famously said, food and lodging, right? Of Harry Kane. We've let them go on loan. At the weekend, forgive me, right? At the weekend, we didn't need to bring Bentancur on. At the weekend, Donnelly would have got 10, 15 minutes. Mikey Moore could have come on for 10, 15 minutes, against Burnley in a Premier League game on the left-hand side, and put in 2 crosses for Solanke to put in the back of the net, right? There's everybody who was going, they need minutes. This is Tottenham Hotspur we're talking about. They were going to get minutes. Right?
My problem with the young signings reign, though, is that I'd argue, is Odeberg any better than, or shown any better potential than what Mikey Moore has? No, I'd argue in the minutes that Mikey Moore's played, he's shown a lot more end product than them guys. So I'd argue, from what we've seen from Jamie Donnelly, is Bergvall or Gray any better? I don't think so.
I would say that Bergvall and Gray and Donnelly will be the 3 players. I don't think our other players are at the moment good enough to play a Premier League season.
It doesn't matter. The point is that we pay no money for these people, and they're not on contracts that we can't rip up. So if they don't make it this year, if we gave them 10, 15 minutes every not even every game, every third game, gave them 10, 15 minutes, and they didn't prove that they were good enough, we just let them go, right? But if we go and sign El Khanous, we've got him for 5 years. Yeah, we've got him for 5 years. On a 60 grand a week contract, right? And that's my point. My point is not Donnelly, Moore, whoever else, Scarlett, whoever else you want to pick is going to be the bee's knees. My point is they provide a little bit of backup, especially when you're in the shock like we currently are, because we're now semi-desperate. At least a lot of people think we're semi-desperate, right? But also we're not ultra committed to these players. These players, we can get rid of them easy. We can't even sell Bissouma.
Yeah. Well, I should just let his contract, pay him out of his contract.
But I don't think the kids are the answer. I'm sorry, I don't. I think if you start throwing them in 15 minutes every third game and they're crap, their confidence is shot to pieces. And we shouldn't be relying on children to get us through the league.
Gave them the answer, though, okay? That's the problem,
Exactly. Donnelly's 21 years old.
I don't see anything in the majority of our academy players that makes me think they're going to cut it.
But Kate, we could go on for an hour, right? My point is 10, 15 minutes. Do you know what? We'll find out whether they're good enough or not. We haven't seen anything because they've never had the opportunity. If we give them the opportunity and they prove you right that they're not going to be good enough, then fine. But unless they're given the opportunity to prove you right, we'll never know.
One thing I will agree with you is the fact that if we sign this Leicester player, which hopefully we won't, but if we sign this Leicester player, well, then it is, why didn't you keep Donnelly? Because I'm sure Donnelly would have as much effect as this Leicester player, whether that's good or bad in this season. So, when you're going for players like Eze or Morgan Gibbs White, yeah, they're class players. I mean, I mean, it's painful watching Morgan Gibbs-White play on Sunday for Forest in that first half. He was absolutely amazing.
He's so good.
Yeah, and you know, but I think
He's
if
so
you're gonna bring in someone like this guy from Leicester, well then why did you loan out Donnelly? You might as well kept him.
That's my big problem. You know, you look at the money that we spent on acquiring some of these players, 30 million on Udaber, 40 million on Archie Gray. And we're pissing about trying to pay 60 million for someone like fucking Eze, where we are happy to pay over the odds for some of these youngsters we're signing when some of them are coming in, and if not the majority of them coming in and proving they are no better, than what we currently are producing. And at the end of it, I think some of the players that we have coming through the ranks, I do think you will see one or two of them in the Tottenham team in future if Tottenham look to develop them right. But to Kate's point, the problem is, right now, they are not the answer, but we have no choice because the club, with the transfer business they've done and everything else, they're forcing these youngsters to try and be the answer. And that's the big problem, and you're not doing their development any good. You're going to lose a lot more players along the way because of the pressure that's being put on them, and they won't be able to cope with it. Then you are actually going to turn these players into, serious players, because at the end of the day, they have nobody to learn off. They need experienced players that have end product to learn off. That's how you learn the game, by looking at these players, stars, and going, right, that's what I need to do to be like that. We don't have players like that. So half of their examples is someone like Basuma. What are they learning off him? How to go out and have a good time on the weekend and inhale fucking balloons. I mean, what good is that to their football career? And this is the big problem. We need to learn at Tottenham Hotspur. When there's quality on the market, go and get it. We're not asking every signing to be like that. But when there's a need, or if it's available, go and get it done. And then you can supplement it with bits and pieces around it. But the problem is we're always bringing in bits and pieces, or we're always bringing in the bits and pieces and then supplementing with one star player and going, there you are. And I'm absolutely fed up with it. But anyway, guys, I think we will call it an evening there. It's getting on to 9:45. Another big day ahead of us, tomorrow with plenty of content coming your way. We have a debate show tomorrow evening with Shawnee Butler. I can't remember who else is on. And then we are, of course, into Friday, your usual game days, build up stuff. We'll be doing an under 21 watch along Friday evening as well for the under 21s. And then Saturday, you're all your game day stuff, and then over the weekend as well. So make sure you look out for that. Kate, what have you got coming up on your channel?
Well, I'm not streaming tomorrow because I can't. The anger is too strong. So I'm streaming Friday at 12:30 for the Premier League preview with Jess from JSY Talks Football, Jimbo, and Chang as well. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
How is Jimbo? Is he all right?
Yeah, how is Jim?
You know what he's like? He's down there going, it could still fall through. He just don't get it. I said, it ain't going to fall through, Jim. It's done. Well, you never know. And if he does want to go there, then, well, I won't say what he said. Basically, stuff him. He said, we don't want him if he don't want to play for us. Well, I want him.
Do you know what? When I first came into this YouTube stuff, I was a bit like Jimbo, where I was like, doesn't matter what the universe is telling me, there's still a possibility. But I tell you, the more invested you get into it and the more research you do and, the more you understand the going-ons and stuff, I've lost that completely. I've lost all that sort of goodwill and stuff. It does change you to a certain degree. And you do become a lot more cynical, for sure. But fair play to Jimbo for keeping that is what I'm trying to say, I guess, Fair play to him, a strong cookie. But guys, make sure you get over, check out Kate's channel. Great content over there with Chang, Jimbo, and Kate. And she also does the pre-match pump-ups on We Are Tottenham TV as well. So check them out as well. I want to say a massive thank you to Rain, to Brad, I think Ellie, Eugene, and Daniel Larson, who just dropped off, and I don't know where he went either. But a massive thank you to all you guys for jumping on with me this evening. Look, sorry about the lack of content over the summer. Like I said, I've been busy with family stuff and everything else. But your boy is back from today onwards. There's going to be content nearly every day of the week. So make sure you stay tuned. Continue to give us your support. Sorry about the Eze transfer saga. It's ended the way no one wanted to end. It probably in the worst case scenario that he's ended up joining Arsenal. Let's see what the last 12 days of transfer window holds. I'm almost going off to play that song, The 12 Days of Christmas. It's at this point, on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. I mean, fucking hell. Someone please give me a player of quality. But guys, have a good evening. Smash the like. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And as always, as much as it's
keep the faith, folks. Keep the faith. Keep the faith. Keep it together. It'll be okay.
Have a good evening, all.